Good day, students. Welcome back. This is Dr. Mercado speaking. Welcome to Accounting 1329, Payroll and Business Tax Accounting. In this particular lecture, we are continuing covering Chapter 3, which deals with Social Security taxes. Now, in this specific problem, we are going to be covering Problem 314A, which deals with preparing Form 941, which is the employer's quarterly federal tax return. Okay, you are going to have to prepare several 941s in this week's homework assignment because we do need to master how to complete it. Now, some of the problems in your homework in Cengage have the Show Me How video. Problem 314A does not have a video. That is why I'm going to explain it on in this lecture. That way you can use it as guidance, okay? Because it can get a little bit challenging as a lot of information is including. Okay. Generally, the employer must make a quarterly return of FICA taxes and withheld income taxes for the 3 months of each calendar quarter. Okay, so this needs to be done quarterly using Form 941, which is the employer's quarterly federal tax return. Okay, and the Form 941 can be submitted electronically using the Form 941 e-file program. Okay, so the form has 4 parts. It's pretty lengthy. Okay. But within the actual form, a lot of information is provided to help guide you as to the line items that need to be added or the corresponding information that needs to be entered. So it can be overwhelming if you look at it for the first time, but after you continue doing it over and over, it should become a little bit more simplified. Okay, so let me go ahead and jump over to the problem. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Okay, so this is what problem 314A looks like. Okay, a lot of information is provided. Okay, so the problem reads: during the 3rd calendar quarter, Bayview Inn, owned by Diane Peters, employed the persons listed below. Also given are the employee salaries or wages and the amount of tips reported to the owner. The tips were reported by the 10th of each month. The federal income tax and the FICA tax to be withheld from the tips were estimated by the owner and withheld equally over the 13 weekly pay periods. The employer's portion of FICA tax on the tips was estimated as the same amount. Then we are provided with the list of all of the employees, the salary or wage, the quarter's wages, the quarter's tips, the quarter's OASDI, the quarter's HI, and the quarter's federal income tax. Okay. It states here that the employees are paid weekly on Fridays. The following paydays occur during the quarter. So during the month of July, we have 5 paydays, August 4 paydays, and September 4 paydays. We have the employee's federal income tax of $700 per week. We've got the weekly FICA taxes withheld on wages, OASDI, and HI for the employee and the employer, and the weekly FICA taxes on tips, the OASDI for the employee and the employer, as well as the HI. So this is based on the wages, okay, on the quarter's wages, these amounts right here. And then these amounts over here are calculated based on the tips. Okay, so we have the wages and the tips separately. Okay, based on the information given, we have to complete Form 941 for Diane Peters, phone number 901-555-7959. Okay, and the date filed is October the 31st. Okay. So this is what the form looks like. Okay. Now we're going to go line item by line item. Now some of these line items don't apply. Okay. Some of these line items apply for more sophisticated or advanced 941s, which is not the case for what we're doing in the course. We're learning the fundamentals, just regular wages, tips, and that's about it. Okay. So we're doing just a very common basic 941. Okay, so let's begin with the top. On the top of the form, we have the employer identification number already pre-filled, the name, the trade, and the address. Okay, so all of that is pre-filled. Now, the information here is provided for, this is July, August, and September. So that is January, February, and March is the first quarter. April, May, and June is the second quarter. July, August, and September is the third quarter. October, November, and December is the fourth quarter. The information in this return is for July, August, and September. So that means that this is for the third quarter. So we need to go ahead and we're going to mark. Now I'm going to have to be inserting text boxes, so be a little bit patient because I can't really type on the form. Okay, so we're going to select the third option over here for July, August, and September. Okay, so make sure, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to border that. That way you know what I'm talking about. We need to choose that option right there. Okay. Let me see. Okay, let me go back. Formats. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to format, no fill. We're going to do no fill and then the shape format. Sorry, my computer is a little bit slow. Okay, format and the outline. I'm going to do it red. Okay, so make sure that we select. And why did it change it back? Let me see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we need to select that third option because it's for the third quarter. It just depends what months we're dealing with. Okay, and if you see here, we are dealing with July, August, and September. That is why I am selecting the third quarter. Okay, so it depends on the information being provided in the problem. Okay, so now let's start with the actual data entry of part number 1. Okay. It asks, what is the number of employees who receive wages, tips, or other compensation for the pay period including March 12th? Okay, so we have to count how many employees we have. So we just go and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 employees. So line item number 1 is going to be 10. Okay, very easy. How many employees do we have? We've got 10 employees. Wages, tips, and other compensation is line number 2. Okay, so we've got the wages and we've got the tips. So what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and we're going to add them. Okay, we're going to add these two amounts down here. Okay, so we're going to add the total for my wages and the total for my tips. Okay, so let me get my calculator out. The total for my wages is $104,975 plus my tips $10,078.30. So that's going to give me a total of $115,053.30. That number goes on line number 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's enter that on box number 2, and that's $115,053.30. Okay. Number 3, federal income tax withheld from wages, tips, and other compensation. That is also provided to you in the problem. Okay, the federal income tax, $9,100. So that is also provided. So we just have to enter those $9,100 on line number 3. So it's basically just locating the information in the problem. Okay. So that would be $9,100. Okay. Now we go to line number 4. It says if no wages, tips, and other compensation are subject to Social Security or Medicare, check here. That does not apply to us. Our wages and tips are subject to Social Security or Medicare. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to break out our calculation so we can calculate those amounts. Starting with 5A. It says taxable Social Security wages. Okay. Now we're talking about wages. The amount that we're going to enter is the amount for wages. And the amount for our wages is provided of $104,975 at the bottom of quarter's wages. So we've got $104,975. Okay. $104,975. Okay. We're going to get that amount that we just entered and we're going to multiply it by the rate provided in the form. So we've got 104,975, which is my quarter's wages, the total quarter wages, times the rate in the form is 0.124. I'm getting that number from the center, 0.124, and that's going to give me a total of 13,016.90. Okay? Okay, so that we're going to enter it here, 13,016.90. Okay. Now, line 5A, it talks about qualified sick leave wages. That information was not provided. 5A, qualified family leave wages. That information was not provided. Taxable Social Security tips. Do we have any tips? Yes, we do. So because we have tips, we're going to enter that information on line 5B. Okay. And the total of my tips is, if you look at your quarters tips, we're going to look at the total. That's 10,070.30. Okay, so 10,078.30. Okay, so that is my total for my tips. I'm going to multiply that amount times the rate on the form, which is 0.124. Okay, 10,078.30 times 0.124, and that gives me 1,249.709. Because that third digit is a 9, I'm going to round up to 1,249.71. Okay, so be very careful with your rounding. Okay, so we're doing 1,249.71. Taxable Medicare wages and tips. That is the total of my wages and tips. So we're going to add those two amounts. Okay, so the total of my wages is 104,975. The total of my tips is 1078.30. So my total for my wages and tips, it's 115,053.30. Okay, so we're going to put that in that box. Let me just delete this. Okay. And sorry about this, but it's like the only way I can get the form to actually be able to type in the form. 115,053.30. Okay. And we're going to multiply that amount times the rate provided, 115,053.30, times the rate of 0.029, and that's going to give me a total of 3,336.545. Since that third digit is a 5, I'm going to round the 4 up to 5. So it'll be 3,336.55. Always look at the third digit. If the third digit is a 5 or greater, you round up. If it's a 1 through 4, you keep as is. Okay? So let's go ahead and enter that information. 3,336.55. Okay. Line 5D, taxable wages and tips subject to additional Medicare tax. That does not apply to our problem. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and skip. Now line 5E says we're going to get the total Social Security and Medicare taxes. They're asking us to add column 2. This is column 2. Okay, so we're looking at this column right here. So when they say column 2, this is what we're referring to column 2. So we're going to add all of the numbers in column 2, and we're going to get our total. Okay, so it says there what to add. So we're going to get our calculator out. I've got 13,016.90 plus 1,249.71 plus 3,336.55, and that gives me 17,603.16. Okay. So we're going to enter that item on line 5E. It's just the sum of all of these three numbers on column 2. 17,603.16. Okay. Section 5F does not apply. It says notice and demand tax due on unreported tips. We didn't have any unreported tips. Line 6 says total taxes before adjustments, and it tells you which lines to add. We're going to add line 3, 5E, and 5F. Okay, so line 3, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add line 3. Line 3 is $9,100. We're going to add line 5E. 5E is 17,603.16. And it says 5F. 5F is 0, so that would be it. So my total will be 26,703.16. Okay, so that would be line number 6. Okay, line number 6. Line number 6 will be line 3 plus line 5E, and that gives us 26,703.16. So this is the taxes that we calculated before any adjustments, okay? Now, we were making quarterly, we were making payments, okay? Every time that we make a every time that we cut our employees a check, we were making withholdings, and then we were making taxes withheld for the 13 paydays. This is how much taxes were taken from the employee's paycheck or the contributions being made by the employers for every paycheck for the different July, August, and September paydays. Okay, so these are the amounts of my withholdings per pay period. Okay, so now we need to figure out how much did we actually withheld from our employees. Okay, and for our 941, we are interested in figuring out how much was withheld by the employee and how much did the employer contribute for OASDI and HI for both wages and tips. Okay, so to calculate that figure on a per pay period basis, so this is how much was being deducted every pay period. Okay, we were being deducted $565 for OASDI for the employee. We were the employer was contributing $565. For HI, we had $117.11 for the employee, $117.09 for the employer. For the taxes on the tips, we had $48.07 for OASDI from the employees, $48.07 from the employer, and we had $11.24 HI from the employees and $11.25 for the employer. So every pay period, this is the total contributions from both the employee and the employer for OASDI and HI. Okay, $1354.12. Write that number down. Okay, now we're going to get that number and we're going to multiply it by the number of pay periods. So we had 5 pay periods in July, 4 in August, 4 in September. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 4 is 13. So I'm going to multiply that amount times 13 pay periods. That is going to give me 17,603.56. This is the amount that was deducted from the employee's paycheck and that the employer contributed for OASDI and HI taxes. Okay, we're going to compare this number based on line number 5E. This is the amount that we calculated of the taxes. We calculated 17,603.16. So we're going to go ahead and figure out the difference. So whatever you calculated in your calculator, we're going to subtract whatever we have on line 5E, which is 17,603.16. So that means I have a 40-cent adjustment between what was withheld from the employee's paycheck and what we calculated on Form 941. So we have a 40-cent adjustment, okay? That 40-cent adjustment, okay, is in line number 7, okay? So we have a 40-cent adjustment, 0.40 cents. So remember, you're going to add your OASDI for employee-employer, your HI employee-employer for wages, your OASDI for employee-employer, and your HI employee-employer for the tips. That number, you multiply it by the number of paydays in each pay period, and you compare that number that you get with line number 5E, and the difference between what you get and line 5E will be the amount of the adjustment. Okay. Line number 8, current quarter's adjustment for sick pay, we didn't have any. Adjustments for group term life insurance, we didn't have any. Line number 10, total taxes after adjustments. It says to combine lines 6 through 9. So we're going to add lines 6 through 9. So we only have data on 2 lines. Line 6 is 26,703.16. Line 7 is 0.40. So the amount that we're going to enter on line 10 is 26,703.56. Okay. Text box, okay. So that's 26,703.56. Okay. Number 11, it mentions something about qualified small business payroll tax credit. That information is not provided, so we're going to skip. Non-refundable portion of credit, that does not apply. We're going to skip. Reserve for future use, we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip. Okay, so now we're going to jump in to the next section. Okay. So line 11D, non-refundable portion of credit for qualified sick does not apply. COBRA, number 11E, does not apply. 11F, number of individuals for COBRA, that does not apply to us. 11G, non-refundable credits, does not apply to us. Line number 12, okay, it says total taxes after adjustments and non-refundable credits. Subtract line 11G from line 10, okay, 11G from, let me see, what did it say? We're doing line number 12. Okay, so subtract 11G. 11G, we had 0 from line 10. If we go back to line 10, my amount is 26,703.56. So that is the amount that we're going to enter on line number 12, 26,703.56, because none of the other line items have any data. Okay. So on line number 12, we're going to put 26,703.56. Okay. Number 13, total deposits for the quarters, including any overpayments filed in the current quarter. The total number of payments submitted were the 26,703.56. Okay. Now the rest of the line items, 13B, 13C, 13D, 13E, and 13F, you can read over them, but they do not apply to this particular problem. Okay, every problem can be different, so you need to read through all of these line items. But we don't have any information about COBRA or any of those sick and family wages, so none of that applies to us. We're going to jump over to line 13G, which says total deposits and refundable credits. It says to add lines 13A, 13C, 13E, and 13F. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add those line items. And we don't have information with the exception of line 13A. Everything else is 0, so we're just going to bring that number down. Okay, so we're going to bring that to 13G. And that's going to give us 26,703.56. Okay, very good. Line 13H, 13I, and number 14 do not apply. Okay, we don't owe any taxes. What we calculated and paid is what we have on the form, so we did everything well. We don't have any overpayments. Okay, now we move on to line number 2, or I'm sorry, to part number 2. Okay, so it says here, check 1. Line 12 on this form is less than 2,500. So let's look at line 12. Line 12 is 26,000. So that first box does not apply. Okay. The second box does apply. We are a monthly scheduled depositor. We make monthly payments. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to check off that second box. Okay. Now for the tax liability month 1, 2, and 3, Okay, remember when we added up all of those numbers, I asked you to write a number down? Okay, we're going to use that number. But for those of you that didn't write it down, how do we get that number, Dr. Mercado? We're going to add everything, OASDI and HI for both wages and tips for both the employee and the employer. So we've got 500.65 plus 500.65 plus 117.11 plus 117.09 plus 4807 plus 4807 plus 1124 plus 1124, and that gives me 1354.12. Okay, so write that down, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply our 1354.12 times, okay, in the month of July we had 5 paydays. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and multiply by 5, and that's going to give me, let me see, I think okay, that gives me 6,770.60. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add, okay, the 6770.60, and we're also going to add our federal income tax. So we have 700 times 5, that gives me $3,500 for my federal, plus the 6770.60, that gives me 10,270.60. Okay, so what did I do? Okay, in this case we're adding, when we're breaking down the amounts by month down here, okay, in part 2, we're adding all of our taxes, whether it be our federal, OASDI, or HI. So let's do the math again. We're going to get first federal, 700. Then we're doing the 500.65 for the employer, 500.65 for the employer, 117.11 for the employee, 117.09 for the employer, 4807 for the employee, 4807 for the employer, 1124 for the employee, and 1124 for the employer. That gives me 2054.12. Okay, that number we multiply it times the number of paydays, which we have 5, and that gives me 10,270.60. Okay, that number will go in for month number 1. Okay, so it will be 10,270. 10,270.60. Okay, now for month 2 we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add all those numbers, but now we have 4 paydays. Okay, if you see August and September, both of them have 4 paydays. So whatever we calculate for August, we can use for September because we're dealing with the same number of paydays. Okay, so what are we going to do again? Let's do this for practice. 700 for federal income tax, 565 for the employee, 565 for the employer, 117.11 for the employee, 117.09 for the employer, 4807 employee, 4807 employer, 1124 employee, 1124. That gives me 2054.12. Okay, and we multiply that by the number of paydays in August, which is 4. So that will be 8216.48. And that is going to apply for both August and September because both of those months had 4 paydays. Okay, so both of those numbers are going to be the same. Okay. Okay, and let's go ahead and enter a text box. So we're going to have 8,216.48. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for month 3 because we have 4 paydays in month 3. That'll be 8216.48. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add all of those 3 numbers. Okay, for month 1, month 2, and month 3. 10,270.60 plus 8216.48. Sorry about that. Let me redo. 10,270.60 plus 8216.48 plus 8216.48. That gives me 26,703.50. $1,000,000.56. Okay, that goes in your total liability for the quarter. Okay, so it'll be 26,703.56. Now, if you look at this, look at what it says. The total must equal line 12. So let's compare this number to line 12. And yes, they're both the same, 26,703.56. So we're good. Okay. So now we can move on to part 3. Okay. It says, tell us about your business. If questions do not apply, leave blank. So if your business has closed, check here. That does not apply to us. Seasonal employers does not apply. Qualified health plan allocable to qualified sick does not apply. Reserved for future use does not apply. So none of this applies to our business right now. None of that information was provided. So we're going to skip part 3. There is no information that needs to be filled in part 3. Does not apply to this problem. Number 4 or part 4, may we speak with your third party designee? We're going to say no, okay? In this case, if they want to speak to someone, they have to speak whoever was assigned by the organization. So here we're going to mark a no, okay? Where did my X go? There we go. Okay, so we do a no. Okay, and then we have to sign the form. Okay, and this is Diane R. Peters. Okay, we have to date the form according to the problem. Look at the information provided. The date filed, October the 31st. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to enter that date. (10/31). Okay. Over here it says to print your name, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to print the name. So we have Diane R. Peters. Okay. And what is the title of Diane? She is the business owner. And then it's asking for the phone number. All of that information is provided over here at the very beginning. Okay. So the owner is Diane R. Peters. And then down here we've got the phone number, 901-555-7959. We're going to enter the phone number and for the part where it says phone number. Okay. So we're going to enter that, 901-555-7959. Okay. So that is a completed 941. It's just basically going through the motion, doing what the form is asking you to do. I think the most complex of the sections is calculating your adjustment. Okay, make sure that you go back and you pay close attention how I calculated those 40 cents. It's basically calculating what we withheld versus line 5E. And the difference between what was withheld from the employees and the employer's contribution versus 5E will give you the amount of the adjustment. Okay. So this is a completed 941. Okay. Please, you will have another 941. I think 1 or 2 more. But I think those have a show me how video. Please make sure that you watch those videos. Please examine the examples provided in your book carefully. That way you can have a little bit more understanding of what goes into each line item. Okay. But that is basically it for problem 314A. If you have questions or concerns, do not hesitate to contact me Monday through Friday, and I will try to respond as soon as possible. Okay, that is it for this lecture. Until next time, have a wonderful day.